Welcome to Norse Code, the #1 podcast for your Minnesota Vikings. I am your host with the most, Dusty O'Connell. And joining me on the other end of the internet tin cannon string, as per usual, is our Vikings blogger extraordinaire, generally useful human, Arif Hassan. How you doing, Arif?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, it's allergy season, which is generally my second favorite time of the year, right after not allergy season. But I do get the, like, for radio purposes, I get the benefit of, like when Phoebe on Friends had a cold and, like, it made her singing sound sexy.
That's what you get.
Not being able to breathe through my nose really turns up the vocal fry, which I hear is a desirable quality for a radio announcer.
I agree.
How are you?
You already asked me that. I'm good.
I was prying for more.
Never.
Nah, who cares? That's not what people are here for. We're certainly glad that all you people are here, though. And I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everybody who has contributed to Norse Code in the past. We would not be the podcast we are today without the ongoing contributions of our listeners. It's made it possible for us to do a handful of pretty cool things, and there's definitely more things coming in the future, and we'll keep you apprised of those as they come. We got some cool upgrades and fun things planned for the season, and we'll be able to do more of that as contributions increase. We're very proud of not running ads on this show, not doing affiliate marketing. You will never, unless one of us actually purchases a Casper mattress, you will never hear us shilling for them. And if you would like to keep things this way, then we encourage you to go to paypal.me/NorseCode, make a one-time contribution in any amount you would like, or become a recurring contributor at patreon.com/NorseCode, and become a recurring monthly contributor in, again, any amount you would like. Although we suggest about $3.50, just for the cost of one very basic latte a month at the Old Green Mermaid, you can support Norse Code in near perpetuity. And with that, we have taken a few weeks off, and not much has happened. But we will, I guess, endeavor to discuss some of the news around the league that relates to the Vikings. And then, maybe talk a little bit about the team itself, OTAs, and then address a few of your listener questions. Biggest news this week, I don't know, would you say it's the Ring of Honor, or would you say it's Michael Floyd doing Michael Floyd stuff?
It's probably Michael Floyd doing Michael Floyd stuff. I mean, the Ring of Honor is nice, but it doesn't, impact outcomes, I guess.
So that's, so for those who have not heard, Michael Floyd, kombucha enthusiast, apparently, drank so much of it. So kombucha is just like fermented tea. Some of it tastes good. A lot of it tastes very bad, like sour beer. Some people enjoy the flavor. Other people enjoy the smug sense of superiority they get when they drink fermented beverages and believe them to be probiotic.
Believe them to be probiotic. So you're very suspicious of the selling point, like the initial claim that kombucha makes.
Well, anytime people talk about, a beverage being detoxifying, I'm like, what?
Yeah, that should raise your cackles. That's fair.
Fine. Like, it seems to be very popular among a certain group of people who appear to be susceptible to pseudoscience. Is Michael Floyd one of those people? Possibly. But for our purposes, what's more important is that Michael Floyd has to take random breathalyzers as a condition of his house arrest. And he failed one of them by blowing a .055 blood alcohol level at 5:30 in the morning You got that late night kombucha. Really, really puts your morning in the proper frame of mind. And then it slowly declined over the next 40 minutes as blood alcohol levels do when you're not actively drinking. And then he missed a test at 6:33 a.m., 10 minutes after the last one. These seem like some pretty stringent house arrest requirements, but at the same time, this is a novel excuse for failing a breathalyzer that I've never heard of. And let's just say I'm approximately as skeptical of Floyd's explanation as I am of the health benefits of kombucha.
I would think so. It may not be so much that Michael Floyd believes in pseudoscience, so much as he expects us to believe in pseudoscience, given how much you would have to drink in order for you to register anything on a breathalyzer, much less like 0.045 or 0.055.
Well, so what's funny is that if you were caught driving in Colorado with a 0.055 blood alcohol level, you will get a ticket.
Wait, really?
Yeah, for driving while ability impaired.
So that's like a lesser charge?
Yes, it's not quite a DUI, and if you get that ticket, you have to go to court, and you can usually plead it down to something else. So it's like the first time it happens, it's like a non-drinking related offense. But 0.05 is approximately 2 drinks in an hour. Not 2 bottles of kombucha,
two actual alcoholic drinks,
or like a martini and a half. 3 ounces of liquor, or 24 ounces of beer, basically, over the course of 1 hour. So it's not that much, but it's a lot of kombucha, like you were saying. like if he's sleeping in an isolation tank that instead of warm water has warm mint kombucha in it, it is possible that he might absorb enough of the alcohol through his skin to where he might fail a drug test.
That's
or a breathalyzer, excuse me.
Novel way of visualizing that.
What's the best way to get the health benefits? is to hallucinate in an immersion tank and then fall asleep. Floyd's lawyer writes in a statement, Michael was 5 days away from the end of his home monitoring. This is his agent, not his lawyer. Michael was 5 days away from the end of his home monitoring. Prior to and after this incident, Michael has not had any alcohol whatsoever since the start of his home monitoring. Well, that's stupid. 5 days?
Yeah, this is... I feel like the agent is, trying to spin this as if it's, it's lesser because he was so close to the end, or he's trying to spin it as if it's, tragic. He was 6 days from retirement.
He's trying to do both the big deal and not big deal spin, yeah.
Yeah, it's... Really, your argument is just stupid. You were good for 55 odd days? Or, well, actually, I think it was only a 90-day period that I think you had to do this. So, you're good for 80, okay. Yeah, okay, so you were good for 91 days. This is when you messed up, man. I can't believe that.
It's like saying, well, hey, the Vikings are fine. They were ahead 21-3 in the third quarter.
Right. Yeah, no,
basically. But they were winning. Almost won. You guys.
Yeah, so obviously this, calls into question Floyd's place on the roster or Floyd's ability to be on the field at all if the Vikings do decide to roster him. But it's kind of weird because, in this situation, for training camp, you kind of want to give him fewer reps, right? Because you already know that he's due for a 2 to 4 game suspension. I suspect 4. Plus, I think this is another incident. Even if, so he's got an appearance, I think, 5 days after the recording of this podcast in court. Even if that court appearance is basically okay, we'll give you a pass or whatever, right? Even if there's no punishment from the law from the state of Arizona, the NFL is empowered to punish you for basically just being involved in an incident. And this is a slightly more than being involved in an incident, and it's probably enough to add to a suspension. So it's possible, and the suspensions get like consecutively harsher, even if like the violations are consecutively less meaningful. I think Josh Gordon maybe provides a good example. So I could see him being suspended for 8 games. Like that's
So would that be like under the terms of the substance abuse policy?
yeah.
8 games, huh? That's lame.
Yeah, I mean, I just ballparked a number. I don't know. But yeah, no, that's pretty lame.
Like, this is such bull crap. Like, this is a very unfortunate and, like, I don't know, Weasley thing for Michael Floyd to be caught up in or to have done. Well,
Little column A, little column B, right?
Well, and his agent is like, the court wishes to hear from Michael on June 26th. At that time, Michael will have an opportunity to explain how this unfortunate test result happened.
That's amazing.
Like it was a thing that just happened around him.
It occurred to him. Yeah. It was like an environmental. You have to explain. Well, first, the moon aligned with Venus, and it's a very complex explanation for how it happened.
I celebrated by drinking 13 bottles of mint kombucha,
as my people are wont to do.
It's preposterous, and it would. Hopefully, he will. I understand when you want to try to preserve the perception of your own innocence before a court hearing, but hopefully he can kind of mitigate the punishment from the league by being somewhat more honest about his intentions in the future.
Maybe. I don't know if the league actually takes that into account. Maybe, I don't know if the league, ever feels like it's not the cover-up, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. I think that they very much care more about the crime, except when it comes to Deflategate, in which case they cared way more about the cover-up. Way more. But yeah, I don't know. So this was negotiated as a part of a deal that would allow him to play football in Minnesota instead of being confined to a home in Arizona. I'm like, you're right, it's a pretty onerous deal. That's 6 breathalyzer tests a day, right? Is that what it was?
Well, the article on Daily Norseman suggests that there were maybe this was triggered by the first failed one, but he had 4 breathalyzers in an hour.
What?
5:30 a.m., 5:54 a.m., 6:23, and then missed a test at 6:33.
Right. So, yeah, it was negotiated, but that's a pretty poor it's probably maybe it's not 6 in a day. Maybe you're right that it was subsequent tests
triggered by failure.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was 3 or 4 a day, and that's pretty aggressive if they're giving him breath tests at 5:30 in the morning.
I mean, if you were going to try and catch someone, if your job was not to just randomly distribute breathalyzer tests during the day, but if you were trying to catch someone, you would do it at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., right? That's right?
I mean, I guess, but
what if he's asleep? Does he have to wake up to take it?
That's my concern is is this guy just waking up every 2 hours to take breathalyzers? That's no way to live. That strikes me as a little unusual. And I mean, I don't know how it is today, or in Minnesota, or what the terms of this negotiated agreement are. And obviously this, most people are not trying to play in the NFL, but procedure in Colorado is just random breathalyzers. You call a phone number and they say, hey, you have to come in by, X time today to take a breathalyzer. And there are other methods, there's urine tests that can detect alcohol metabolites days after drinking. So
wait, really?
Yeah, they're expensive, but it can be done, and they're very sensitive. So don't be surprised if we start hearing about Michael Floyd failing urine tests for alcohol.
That would be some kind of luck, man. Huh, well, okay, so this
very bad luck.
This I guess limits Floyd's availability. I don't know. He's a wide receiver 3 that was competing with Laquan Treadwell, who's getting a bunch of hype in OTAs as I guess beginning to make good on his first round grade. He's supposed to be looking really good in minicamp and stuff so far. I'm a little bit suspicious of it. I think that it's just incredibly unlikely for any receiver who was a first or second round pick with under 300 yards to be a meaningful contributor over the course of a 4-year time span. There's only been like 3 receivers that did that, and I always forget the third one. It's like Vincent Jackson, Golden Tate, and somebody else over the last I want to say 10 years. It just doesn't happen very often. And I'm just concerned about Treadwell in general. And so that, this puts, a real spotlight on the lack of wide receiver depth past, Thielen and Diggs. And Thielen and Diggs are great. I think they're both probably top 20 receivers. But, if you don't have an ace receiver, you've got 2 pretty good receivers. It would be nice to have depth to bolster that. And, I don't know that the Vikings have it. There's Jarius Wright that the Vikings seem to have somewhat lost confidence in as a depth receiver, or they perpetually want to keep him as a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. There's probably a reason for that. In which case, this Floyd incident is pretty meaningful. It means the Vikings can engage in 3 receiver sets as often and have that much talent on the field. I don't know. It would have been nice because I don't know if we've said it as much, but the general feeling among fans is that if Sam Bradford had a better supporting environment around him, the Vikings might have had a winning record, which that's pretty fair, especially when you consider the state of the offensive line. But it also applies to the receiving core. Adam Thielen wasn't starting the entire year, and Stephon Diggs, I think, was injured for 1 or 2 games. And so if you add the third passing weapon, it would have been nice. It's not a critical problem, I guess. It's better than Jerome Simpson.
All right.
So that's where we're at.
Well, so is this were we really expecting that much out of I guess not. Whatever. It's just annoying. You want the best for a guy. What does Kyle Rudolph think about all this?
Right. Yeah. Well, this is definitely a sitcom plot episode. This is a perfect episode.
Right.
He's drinking kombucha. The thing is, you could do it in a couple of different ways. The entire episode could just be him drinking this gross tea, but no one knows what it is. Then he fails a breathalyzer, and it turns out, it's basically the Elaine Seinfeld episode where she keeps on eating the poppy seed muffins and tests positive for opium.
Exactly. Kyle's like, what is in that bottle? It smells weird. And Floyd's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's good for my gut microbiome. What? I don't know.
Yo, the fauna in my gut, or the flora in my gut, are out of balance, man.
So that's one version of the episode. Another version of the episode could be a very special episode of Rudy and Floyd. Is that what we called it? Floyd and
Rudy. I think I like Rudy and Floyd better, or Floyd and Rudy. Either way. It's about to be Rudy and nobody.
Yeah, right.
But,
it's like 2.5 Men Without Charlie Sheen, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or once the kid grew up,
yeah, that kid must have aged. That's weird.
Yeah, he was 19 when the show ended. Finally.
What?
Not really. Whatever. Yeah, So if I was the producer of Rudy and Floyd, I would probably want to hold off on the after-school special episode until at least season 2.
You'd think, but the events occurring outside, it's didn't the West Wing have to do a 9/11 episode at the very beginning of season 1 or season 2? Season 2.
The headlines.
Right. So sometimes circumstances force you to have a very special episode.
Maybe that'll be Floyd's next defense. I was having a very special episode. It was forced upon me by circumstances that were out of my control. Oh, man. So your latest Eddie Lacy weight update. He has earned his contract bonus, it sounds like, by successfully weighing in at, what, 255?
I think it was 257 because he was 2 or 3 pounds. No, it might have been 247 because he was 2 or 3 pounds under the weight that they gave him. So it was something like his 2 pounds were worth $55,000.
Weighed in at 253 against a 255 weight limit.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah. That's just like, what an incredible. You wiping the sweat off your brow, right? Like I made it. And like you have to worry if the scale at home is going to be different than the scale that they're going to use.
Yeah. So did he employ like wrestler techniques, like martial artist techniques to make weight? Like, was he in a sauna, like jogging in sweats, like in place, like trying to sweat out the last few pounds? Like, was the last like few hours before his like weigh in just like the most miserable, like stressful time of his life?
I would imagine, right? Like if I were him and it was like, tens of thousands of dollars on the line, I would definitely just like not consume food for the next 24 hours. I would be in a sauna all the time. I would do exactly what wrestlers do.
I would be, I would be like counting water sips. Like, maybe I would even like put a weight on my scale so that, like setting your watch a few minutes forward to try and like fool yourself.
Right. Gotta make weight. So then my next question is, so that was just a workout bonus to make weight at a certain point in the season. My next question then is, if he's above the weight, so obviously he doesn't get the bonus if he's above the weight, but also does it impact his like standing on the team? Is he more likely to get cut? Like, because the impact is more than just like the fact that he earned like $23,750 per pound. I think that's the 22,000. Yeah, whatever. 20-some $1,000 per pound. It's also that he like manipulated his roster spot.
Eddie Lacy fat, more valuable than cocaine. Oh man, that's great. No, for me it seems like a no-brainer. Like, I mean, he was listed at 245 of the Packers last year, but there's no way that's true. And apparently the Packers cared less about being honest about his listed weight than the Seahawks do. They apparently want like some kind of athletic conditioning from their running backs. And I guess, I mean, I think this speaks to a larger impulse control problem in the league. But
wait, what?
I know, it's astonishing, right? Breaking news. But I mean, this just seems like why wouldn't you take the money, man?
I mean, right? Like, I don't know. That's just I just like the idea that he earned $20,000 per pound, and that's not literally what happened. Like, that's maybe not a fair way to describe it, but I can't think of it any other way.
Well, here's something that is, I guess, in the same vein and moderately depressing. Cowboys offensive lineman Byron Bell also got paid for making weight this week, $150,000.
I want that.
Well, you may not, because Bell started out at 340 pounds and had to reduce his weight to 320 pounds, a less than 10% body mass decrease in order to make that $150,000. And so, Byron Bell also more valuable than cocaine.
I would lose 10% of my weight for a house.
What kind of house can you buy for $150,000?
A one that a person can live in.
An apartment house.
Yeah, just a nice condo in a bad part of town.
Don't get me wrong. I would totally live in the South Side, and if all I had to do it was lose like, what would that be, like 18 pounds. Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, see? No biggie.
No, it'd be less than that. It'd be, whatever. I could do it. But Bell needs to do it because he has a family history of weight problems, including death in the family. His father died at age 29 of a heart attack.
Holy crap.
That's frightening, especially for the 28-year-old Bell, who I imagine has a somewhat more physically demanding career than his father did.
I'd also imagine, like, he's like muscle to fat ratio is significantly better. Like, probably has a much healthier body, too.
Well, one can hope, but, a lot of those heart disease factors are hereditary, and obesity is a multiplier, and whatever your muscle to fat ratio is, 340 pounds is not trim.
It's not easy, no.
So that's your this week in not fat NFL players.
Differentially not fat NFL players.
in less fat NFL players. Like we mentioned before, Randy Moss and Ahmad Rashad were both, I was about to say indoctrinated, but that's not what I meant.
Indoctrinated.
They were both indoctrinated by Scientologists.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, they were inducted into the Ring of Honor. That's the word I was looking for. Randy Moss, of course, took the opportunity to make a very emotional speech honoring Dennis Green and the relationship they had. How much do you think leaving the Vikings, or I guess Dennis Green leaving the Vikings, was responsible for Randy Moss kind of like bouncing around the league after his tenure with Green?
I don't know. Like a lot of it, he's just like dissatisfied with like his quarterbacks in Oakland, right?
Yeah, I guess. But what about like his time in New England?
He did well there.
Yeah, but that's not hard.
I mean, he said, right? I mean, like, he did better than any other receiver's ever done in the history of New England. So, I mean, it's not as if he, like, showed up and magically got targets.
True. But why not stick around if you're doing so great?
I mean, I don't know why Belichick traded him, I guess. Because he was traded, then he was waived, right? He was traded to the Vikings for a third-round pick and then waived. Tennessee picked him up. I think that's what happened. Yeah, but it sounds like that was appropriate given how he didn't do anything after that.
And that was the end. I tell you what, he definitely found a soft landing in broadcasting. He is well suited to that role.
Both him and Ahmad Rashad.
Yes. Eric Decker, free agent, was a
free agent.
Was a free agent. No longer is. Judd Zulgad, for some reason, thought he would be a good fit for the Vikings. Everyone else disagreed.
No. I thought he'd be fun to have with the Vikings.
Really?
Yeah. I wrote a piece. It would be cool if the Vikings acquired Eric Decker. And in that piece, I argue that it would be kind of neat and that it has a fun story. And he's also very good at producing touchdowns. I don't think it was a requirement or a need for the Vikings. So I already mentioned that the Vikings have like a depth receiver problem. But, obviously this is not quite the same level of player. Like, he doesn't resolve a depth problem. He adds a starter, and it gives you a pretty good 3-wide. And this was while there weren't any problems with Floyd when I wrote this article. But it means that I think the Vikings would probably more often than not be in a 3-wide set, plus they'd have 2 options in the red zone instead of just one, Kyle Rudolph. I thought it would be nice. It would add to the Vikings. It would improve the Vikings for sure. And inherently it would, right? Because he's clearly going to be better than any wide receiver 5 on any roster, so he would technically improve any roster. But given like the low price point the Jets were willing to give him up for, / they just released him anyway, the Vikings have some room and they could sign him, and it's not the most efficient use of money in like a free agency environment, but it's not a free agency environment. There's one player available, and he would have improved the team. But yeah, it wasn't like a necessity or a requirement or anything like that.
Turning to people who are actually on the Vikings and may actually see some time in the first 8 weeks of the season. I was watching some film. The great Brett Coleman was on our show during the offseason in the run-up to the draft. And he, of course, has a little Film Room YouTube channel that I strongly recommend for anybody who wants to, learn more about the players they love.
It's extremely good.
It's so good. So I was watching some of his film breakdowns of Dalvin Cook. And I kind of get the impression, and I'm not just because he basically said this, but watching the tape, it seems like a reasonable hypothesis that Cook is more of a wide receiver type for the NFL than a running back type.
I wouldn't go that far. I think that his receiving skills are underrated. I think maybe a better example of a player like that is maybe Joe Mixon is more of a receiver than a runner. But no, I think that. So Coleman's video was definitely very critical of Dalvin Cook's pass protection capabilities. I would have liked Cook to, stick it through contact up the middle a little bit more. But I think my impression from the video was more that his receiving was like a pretty big asset, more than it was like determinative of, his overall capability.
Well, it's funny because the thing that I took away was that he maybe doesn't have the stereotypical build of an NFL running back, and that his best asset when he was running in college were his feet. Like, you can see him using just like ridiculous footwork to cross up receivers and find, small lanes. But Coleman goes on to say that the quality of defender in the NFL is significantly higher than that in college, especially on the line. And that he just may not have the requisite power and speed to break through that line. I mean, if he does get clear, if use him as like a slot receiver or something, then there's opportunities for him to use his speed and footwork. But maybe those are less valuable qualities in an NFL running back than in college.
Yeah, maybe I have to rewatch that video. I haven't watched that video in, I want to say, a couple months now, I guess, so the point about how his quick footwork allowed him to get away with not having as much straight line speed or having as much power as a typical running back is going to be less useful once you hit the NFL, where the athletes are a lot better. But I guess I never got the impression that not moving him to wide receiver, but treating him more as like a Sproulsy, Woodheady type back would be the best fit for his career. To me, it's kind of like an open question as to whether or not these things will translate in less direction of conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I will say, though, that if he turns into another Danny Woodhead, that would be totally fine with me. Do not mistake that for complaining.
Yeah, it would be fun. You would probably want to have... If he does turn into a Danny Woodhead, you probably would want to have a powerful back somewhere in there. Like, I guess Jerick McKinnon added weight, so he's going to be... He says he's more explosive now as a result of it. But, it's probably not going to be Jerick McKinnon either. So it'd be nice if there was one standard type back, if that ends up being the case somewhere. Is
there a LaDainian Tomlinson analog that we can pick up in the next year or two?
I mean, that would be pretty dope, wouldn't it?
That would be fine. One thing that kind of struck me about this is that, just watching Cook and, not thinking about, his best position fit or anything, you get the impression that the Vikings offense is trying to do something similar to what they have done on defense the last few years. In other words, like kind of build a team of very talented athletic players who can operate in, kind of confusing misdirectional ways. a lot of pieces that can fit together a lot of different ways that would make it more difficult for defenses to figure out what the offense is going to do and give the offense more flexibility in the kind of plays they want to run.
Yeah, no, I think so, because I think so. What's most exciting to me is the potential to have both Dalvin Cook and Jerick McKinnon on the field at the same time. I think it would probably confuse defense's ability to determine which personnel they're going to have. And you could either give the ball to one of them in sort of like a split back scenario, or you could or you could motion one of them out, either one of them, out to the slot and have them play as a receiver, and then you've got a running back, matched up against maybe a linebacker who's probably not going to be as good at dealing with the quickness that both Dalvin Cook and Jerick McKinnon may be able to provide. And that's just one example of the ways that they can do that. You could also, treat David Morgan like a move tight end where you can keep him in at fullback and move him back behind the line and kind of beef up the box, or you can split him out, because even though he's not a particularly fast player, he is a gifted receiver. He's got really, really good hands. And so he may not be open downfield or anything like that, but he offers like a pretty good opportunity to be an outlet option. I think the Vikings offense becomes a little bit more versatile. Adam Thielen is both a deep threat and has some ability to get some yards after the catch and be an intermediate threat. We know that Stephon Diggs can be a pretty exciting yards after catch guy. So I think that gives you a lot of opportunities to create a pretty versatile offense. I'm really excited about the idea of having Dalvin Cook and Jerick McKinnon on the field at the same time, and I think that you can build off of that and create some interesting matchups.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a fun season, I hope. I'm curious to see the future Vikings, because it seems like we're finally like turning away from the power back style that has plagued us, for better or worse, over the last decade. But Adrian Peterson would like to remind you that he's been playing football since he was 7 years old. He can catch a football.
And yet...
Peterson said, and this is an article on NBC Sports, Peterson said he wasn't a better receiver with the Vikings because that wasn't something they asked of him.
What? Oh,
his
every single year, man.
As receiver came with Brett Favre at quarterback, unsurprisingly. Hashtag Christian Ponder sucks. 43 catches for 436 yards in 2009 and 36 for 341 in 2010. Fumbles not indicated. I imagine that the sheer number of them is not that impressive, but his predilection for fumbling in crucial situations is legendary among Minnesota fans.
That, and I think he fumbles more often as a receiver than he does as a runner. Not that we have a ton of receptions to compare it to, but I think I remember, like, for example, the Seattle playoff game, the fumble was he had caught the ball. I know that the NFC Championship game was on a handoff. Hey, this is awful. Why am I doing this? But I think that he's more likely to fumble it on a reception than he is on a run. Who knows? The idea that the Vikings didn't ask him to become a receiver is hilarious. Such a good jokester, Adrian.
Adrian Peterson, still saying shit.
Still saying shit. Just keep saying shit.
You can take Adrian Peterson out of Minnesota, but you can't take the shit saying out of Adrian Peterson.
The classic phrase.
I read it in a book somewhere. I think actually Mark Twain wrote that.
Yeah, that sounds like something that Samuel Clemens would write.
Peterson played with 12 other less than elite quarterbacks in Minnesota. That's kind of impressive.
Wow. Well, because it's like Donovan and Joe and Tavares and Christian.
Josh Freeman.
Jesus. Josh Freeman.
Gus Frerotte.
Oh, wow. He's been... Wow.
Brad Johnson,
yeah. The best of the worst, is that... Sage started, didn't he?
Yeah. I would say Probably either Johnson or Castle is the best of the worst. I don't even know why John Freeman is on that list. I don't think he should count. But I guess
that was one of the most memorable games in Monday Night Football history.
I'll never forget it. I promise you that.
You made it sound like a threat at the ready. I'll never forget it. Yeah, all right, man.
In a world where no. So OTAs were a thing. Everybody's looking pretty good except for Sam Bradford. It sounds like inactive with what are they, like resting his knee?
Yeah, I thought it was his shoulder, but that I could have heard that a couple of practices ago, and now it's something else. I don't know.
The zone coverage article just reads muscle tightness for his days off from live reps.
Well, sure, some muscle somewhere. I'm sure he has them.
He has one muscle, and it is tight. Wait, no, not. It doesn't sound quite the way I wanted it to. Mike Zimmer, the one-eyed wonder, confessed that he probably needed to take his separated retina a little more seriously than what he did.
No friggin' kidding.
Really? Was it which eye surgery? Like after which one did you realize that? Was it 6? Was it 7? Did you get all the way to 8?
Yeah, I mean, at least. So there's a story in the Star Tribune where evidently it was Andre Patterson who convinced him to finally take it slow. It wasn't like the 7th or 8th surgery or like the many doctors or his family. It was Andre Patterson who was like, you should ease up. And it's like, well, Andre, you've known me for 20 years, so I'll listen to you. I guess, yeah, sure.
Mike Zimmer quotes are always classics. I've probably done a little bit more research since the season's gotten over with. Well, did you or didn't you? Like, I might have. I'm not real clear on that.
He's just learning to be cagey. Living a gotcha media age. Come on, Dusty.
I mean, we do, but that's. I mean, I think this is a pretty face-up situation. I don't think this is. I think his caginess could be wielded better.
That's the thing about gotcha media. They get you when you least expect it.
You can't even be cagey around these people without them going up your butts.
I'm telling you.
You probably can't be cagey around them.
Who knows?
Oh, that's funny. So I imagine you did not attend OTAs?
No, that was my colleague Sam Ekstrom at Zone Coverage who did most of the OTA attendance.
Ah, good for him.
Yeah.
It's so early to tell, but I'm just gonna.
Well, yeah. So there's some updates on position battles after OTAs are over and as minicamp begins. So the first thing is that they still haven't played Joe Berger at center yet, and I assume it's because they know what they have in him at center, and they're alternating Joe Berger and I want to say Searles, maybe not, maybe Joe Berger. No, actually, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. Forget what I said. Joe Berger's just playing guard, so. There's no alternating at guard. So they know what they have in center with Joe Berger. At some point, they should have somebody alternate first-team guard with Joe Berger just to see if they can get a quality-level guard. But for right now, they've got Nick Easton and Pat Elflein alternating at first-team center. So the most likely scenario is that one of them starts, and then the rest of the line is already set. But I think there's another scenario that the Vikings should probably or have already considered, which is if neither of them are up to snuff at center, move Berger to center and see who can win the job at guard. Not necessarily Easton or Elflein, but like Danny Isadora, Jeremiah Searles, and so on. So that's what's happening. So right now the only position battle on the offensive line is at center between the third-round pick and I think the guy they traded for. I think they traded for Easton. Who was a 6th round pick or something like that. So that's the position battle update there. At wide receiver, there was a position battle between Floyd and Treadwell at wide receiver 3, and Treadwell was kind of already pulling away with it given the reps that were occurring in OTAs. And evidently he's doing pretty well in OTAs. I've already said that I'm kind of suspicious of how much that's going to translate, but, if he does, revive his career, revive is a strong word after a year, but if he does, rejuvenate his career, this is probably what it would begin to look like. So there's that. The other side of the ball, you've got Edmund Robinson, who's taking almost all of the weak side linebacker snaps. Most of that is because Emmanuel Lemur was sidelined for the beginning of OTAs with an injury. Emmanuel Lemur has now started alternating with Edmund Robinson on the first team defense to take those weak side linebacker snaps. I would still give an advantage to Edmund Robinson. I just don't have that much faith in Emmanuel Lemur. At cornerback, it sounds like Terrence Newman and Mackenzie Alexander are really battling for that slot spot, and that Trey Waynes has locked down the outside cornerback spot. A little hesitant about that. I think everybody who listens to this podcast knows that. And I would be kind of curious to see if Mackenzie Alexander just does well enough at slot cornerback, whether or not they're going to start challenging Trey Waynes, the Terrence Newman on the outside again this year. We'll see. At safety, which is kind of the only other position battle besides, I guess, defensive tackle, it sounds like Anderson Deo's just started all of those. So there's not much going on there. And at defensive tackle, I'm going to have to check with Sam because I'm not quite sure what's happening next to Linval Joseph. But presumably Dayton Jones is getting most of the first team snaps. He's competing, of course, with Jaleel Johnson and somebody. They just acquired somebody, but yeah, another person.
another warm body will
Right.
Will compete and probably not earn a spot.
Right.
But it sounds like the roster is starting to take shape.
Yeah.
Well, shall we take a look at the mailbag, see what we got this week? So Brian James writes in with an email question, and you too can email us, norsecodepodcast@gmail.com. Is pro football a strong link or a weak link sport, or some combination depending on offense and defense, position group, etc.? If you think it is a weak link sport and assembled a team based on that belief and then had to contend with the salary cap, who would be quarterback? And would that team be any good?
So this is kind of interesting as a question. So what is determinative outcomes, whether or not you've got a superstar or whether or not you've got consistency? And I think it's pretty clearly a mix. I think that along the offensive line, so there's protector positions and creator positions, something that I kind of learned from draft Twitter. I think people like Eric Stoner, who's right now he's not on Twitter, but his Twitter handle was Bo Jackson, Charles McDonald at 4Verts, Justin Mosqueda, who's been on the show a ton of times, at Jumosk. The distinction between protection and creator positions tells us not only whether or not athleticism allows, or whether or not athleticism has a strong relationship or a relatively weak relationship with outcomes at that position, and B, how you want to construct that roster. So protector positions include the secondary, the cornerbacks in particular, because teams can choose where they want to attack, who's going to line up against what cornerback, usually, sometimes cornerback shadow, and will make a determination based off of who's the most open, i.e. which cornerback has done the worst job, who to throw to. Along the offensive line, you're doing the same thing. Teams can blitz or align defensive ends, or even shift from over to under, or align their best pass rushing tackle against who is ever weakest. And so we know that quarterbacks are impacted by pressure, and we know that quarterbacks generally are impacted by the direction pressure comes from, whether or not it's the right, left, middle, whatever. But we know that more important than where it comes from is that it comes all. And sacks, it doesn't really matter where they come from. So those are weak link positions. So cornerback, offensive line, those are weak link positions. But creator positions include the people who are attacking those weak links. So wide receivers, quarterbacks, in some cases, in a lot of cases, running backs, defensive linemen, linebackers are kind of a mix of the two. Safeties are kind of a mix of the two, although they're more, they're more of a protector than a creator, but safeties can create. So that sort of thing. So it's a mix. But if you were to try and construct a roster, assuming that it was, if all of the positions were based off of like a theory of the weakest link hurts the chain, then the quarterback in a salary cap environment, that would be, it would be Colin Kaepernick, right? Because he's free. But other than that, assuming you can't do that, because I know either you care about America or you think he's bad. Well, it doesn't really matter if you think he's bad, because this kind of just assumes that. Or that would be cheating because it's too easy. Then I think you've got a little bit of a conundrum, because quarterback salaries have been rising, or not rising. So there's a piece I published a while back that indicated that quarterback salaries at the top are rising commensurate to the salary cap level. So as the salary cap rises, the highest paid quarterback gets basically a pay increase that matches that. But quarterbacks in the middle and in the top 20 in general, quarterbacks at the tail end of that, that you expect to get signed or re-signed, their salaries are rising relative to the salary cap. And so quarterback salaries overall are flattening. And so it makes it very difficult to just be like, well, this is where, if quarterbacks were not creator positions for some reason, this is where the inefficiency is. And it's really difficult to do that. I would say you'd probably want where the salary drops from $15 million a year to $7 million a year. That's like basically one kink in the graph, and I don't know sort of who necessarily that would be, but that's about the 21st best quarterback in the league. I'm taking a quick look at overthecap.com right now just to get an idea. Yeah, well, wow. It drops exactly from 15 million to 7.3 million. That was a good guess, Arif. Tyrod Taylor is only 15 million. Maybe I pick him. Because the other ones are on rookie contracts: Mitchell Trubisky, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. They don't really count. I guess the guy that signed a new deal that is not $15 million or more is Brian Hoyer, or you could pick Josh McCown, or you could pick Nick Foles. Out of those three, I'd probably pick Josh McCown. If not, I'm probably picking Tyrod Taylor. So that's in answer to a hypothetical version of that question.
All right.
Andrew Luck is making $24.6 million a year, more than Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I remember when everybody roundly mocked Jim Irsay for letting Andrew, is he elite or not, Luck, basically take the team to the cleaners for whatever that was, like 5 years.
Yeah, I was just reminded of it again just now. It's all right.
Still a thing. Still a thing. Speaking of, at Gobo Like Noble on Twitter writes in, what are the top 5 beards in the NFL, and where does Dalvin Cook's rank?
Man, I have no good answer to that. I like Michael Bennett's beard. Dalvin Cook's, actually, that's a good one. Captain Munnerlyn sometimes has this chin strap thing going. I think he does. I don't think he has it now. Matt Fortes I would have picked him. I don't know if he still has it. That one's good.
I actually like Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard a lot.
Really?
It's bushy. It's well trimmed. It's like the opposite of Eric Weddle's beard, which is like like one of those copper scrubby pads that you've had for like way too long and it's like falling apart.
That's a good way to characterize it.
That's not a good look. I think Nick Mangold has a great name and a luxurious golden beard to go with it.
Does he have a beard?
Yeah.
Huh. I'll trust you on that. I'm gonna look up Travis Kelce's beard because I think he has a beard, right? Travis Kelce.
Does he? I don't know.
Find out. Sometimes, turns out.
For non-Jets, I like Logan Mankins.
He's still in the league? Does that count?
Yeah, isn't he with Tampa Bay? Or did he retire after whatever that was, 2015?
Well, let's take a look at his beard real quick.
Well,
that one's good.
Okay, so Patriots, Logan Mankins has a Viking beard.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
I don't know if I would put Dalvin Cook on the list. I think I'm not a big fan of the thick chin strap.
You like voluminous beards.
Well, or
as you've indicated with your choices,
beards that cover the whole face. Like if you shave the front of your chin, that looks strange to me.
Check out Matt Forte's beard for me real quick.
Nope. Not Matt Forte Bears, which is surprisingly easy typo to make.
Right.
Ooh, yes, that's a beard.
Right. I think I'm going to go with that one.
Wow. This one makes him look like Wooly Willy.
Who is Wooly Willy?
Wooly Willy. He's not really a toy. It's like a toy that's fun for like 2 minutes. It's like a piece of plastic over paper with iron shavings underneath and like a drawing of a bald guy. And it's a magnet, and you can like pull some of the hair up to his head, or you can pull it all down to his beard. Give him like cheap eyebrows, or like pull it over his eyes.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is definitely like optimal Wooly Willy.
Yeah, there you go. So we're picking that one.
Yeah, so Forte, Fitzpatrick, unless you have like an issue with that.
I don't have an issue. It doesn't like strike me as like something I would put in the category of best.
Well, neither does Patrick.
The beard matches the man. It's wild.
It really does. Very suitable. The Civil War general look for the losing side.
When I typed in FIT into Google and it filled in Fitzpatrick beard. I assume because I just searched Matt Forte beard that it knew I was looking for beards, but still.
All right, Google, you're getting weird now.
There's so many things FIT could be for, like the word fit. But whatever. What if I was looking up fitness, Google? No, I was looking up Fitzpatrick's beard. You got me.
Google already knew you were looking up Fitzpatrick's beard.
That's a little... You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I like it. I like the Fitzpatrick beard a lot.
Okay, so Fitzpatrick, Mangold, Forte, Mankins.
I think what sells me on the Fitzpatrick beard is that the mustache is just such a big part of it. Like, it's got its own character within the beard setup.
He's got some impressive, like, facial hair qualities, just like genetically, and he really maximizes them in his beard. Like, it's very well trimmed.
Yeah, so
who's our number 5? There's a terrible article from 2014 where they suggest that Andrew Luck has one of the best beards.
Oh, he's one of the worst.
He is one of the worst beards in history, not just the NFL.
Right? Like, well, how does... Best does not mean distinctive, that's for sure.
It's like Sidney Crosby's beard. It's just like, why are you trying?
Doesn't Crosby have to? Or aren't playoff beards a thing in hockey too?
Well, they are, and I feel like poor Crosby just had to like make a choice one day. He's like, do I live with the mockery of having a bad beard, or live with the mockery of not growing a playoff beard?
I think he chose wisely despite that. You have to grow. I mean, I'm a little biased, but you have to grow the playoff beard. So let's see who else. So I also Googled best NFL beards, and these are just the best beards in sports in general. I don't need this. Ricky Williams, come on. James Harden, obviously. Kimbo Slice, I guess. Is Kimbo Slice dead?
Yes.
Oh, man, that's sad.
Well, heart attack.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Antonio Garay. How old is this article? 2013. Wow. Okay, 2013 was a while ago, I guess. Alexi Lawless. You can't...
Wow.
You
How we not mention Ed Reed?
Oh. Wait, because he's not active either. We can't...
Oh, right, yeah. He just had a great beard.
Right. So we'll leave the number 5 is a fill-in. Choose your own adventure.
Joe Hawley from the Falcons.
Fine, I'll look it up.
It's gonna be my entrant.
It's all right. Oh wait, no, the 2017 one is really good.
Yes.
Okay. Also, he's a Buccaneer now.
Oh. Wow. Joe Hawley, Buccaneer. our top 5.
All right, we cheated a little bit, but we got there.
Navarez Louise writes in, supposedly Terrence Newman has already been offered a defensive backs coach job, redeemable upon his retirement.
Redeemable, like it's a coupon.
Yeah, exactly. Good for one free Vikings defensive back coach.
Yeah, no, hasn't this been confirmed? I think it might have appeared in a Star Tribune piece or something like that. Anyway, great idea. Let's do it.
Yeah, that excites me very much. I have a lot of enthusiasm for that.
Pro Bowl Terrence Newman working with Pro Bowl Jerry Gray to whip these cornerbacks into shape.
Probably not terrible.
Yeah.
Which rookies, one from the offense and one from the defense, will make the biggest impact this season?
Man, that's... I guess... I was going to say Pat Elflein, but I'm going to pick Dalvin Cook. There's no reason to be even remotely hipster about the offense pick. Defensively... Jaleel Johnson. I like him a lot. It might be difficult for him to start, but it's going to be difficult for any of the defensive rookies to start. So, picking Jaleel Johnson.
All right. I look forward to that question is from at Jesse Silva, by the way. I'm looking forward to revisiting that question as we get closer and closer to the season and seeing how that answer changes. Probably only on one side of the ball, huh?
Elflein could be really good, man.
At J_Ortman writes in, best nickname for NFC North players through time. That seems like a tall. I think maybe we can pin it down to maybe best NFC North player nickname.
Like currently?
All time.
I don't know. So I've been doing like a bunch of research on historically underrated players. And so, like, I've come across, like, Hardware Hank, and that's, like, an alright nickname. And Big Ed, which is not a good nickname. Sorry, Ed White.
Ooh.
But this, as a nickname, it's, it's wanting. Did Jared Allen ever have a nickname? Feels like he should.
Let's find out.
I don't like Fat Pat. That one's alright.
It makes me think of Pat from Saturday Night Live.
It's Pat.
Yep.
Let's see.
Is Jared Allen's nickname.
What's his nickname?
Rodeo.
That's terrible. Oh my god, that's awful.
The brand new way to greet rodeo style is a move much like waving, but instead you pretend to hold a lasso and spin it above your head.
Much like waving. Yeah, okay. I cannot possibly answer this question. I'd have to rifle through. No, I figured it out. It's Night Train. Dick Night Train Lane. Detroit Lions cornerback from like the friggin' 50s and 60s.
Done.
Boom. Well, that was easy. Why did I complain about how hard it was?
I knew you just need a minute to like chew it over in your brain and you come up with something good. At Navarez Louise writes in again, if each player was an existing Marvel superhero, who would they be?
Oh,
in the interest of brevity, let's just pick one player from the offense and one player from the defense.
No, I would. It would be easier to do it reverse, right? Pick a Marvel superhero and then pick the player, because otherwise I feel like it's too open-ended. So, like, Doctor Strange, maybe that's Everson Griffin because he's, like, weird, but, like, it would have been Cluey, right? I mean, Doctor Strange would have been the most fun one to figure out. I don't know if there's someone on the roster right now who fits it. Also, well, Doctor Strange isn't necessarily, I guess, weird, but his name is Doctor Strange. I was just trying to think
of, like, the most pompous.
Yeah. Actually, this is mean, but I'm going to do it anyway. Stephen Weatherly. The knock coming one of the knocks, I mean, he's a 6th round pick. There's more than one knock. One of the knocks coming out of the draft for him was that he was a little arrogant. Dude, like, plays 6 instruments. Doctor Strange, like, his thing was that he's arrogant. He's a medical doctor, right? I think Stephen Weatherly speaks multiple languages. I think both his parents are professors. Yeah, he's Doctor Strange. Sorry, Stephen. Rooting for you. I feel like you've got enough talent to be the 3rd defensive end, so I don't hate you.
Exactly. So don't take those turns too fast, or you may find yourself with the shoe on the other foot.
Let's see. Who else? There's Iron Man. We'll probably just say it's whoever doesn't miss games, right? Who doesn't miss games on this team? Is it no one?
After last year, I think we're down to no one.
Well, okay. It's definitely not Harrison Smith. That would have been fun. So, okay, Linval Joseph's the Incredible Hulk, right?
I think either Joseph or Griffin.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joseph just because, he's larger. Which isn't fair. I don't know if anyone's, like, that angry on the team, so I'm going to just go with the largest person. Captain America. It would have been really easy to pick Captain Munderland, but... Captain America. Man.
Maybe Sam Bradford? I feel like Sam Bradford lacks some of the requisite bravery to be Captain America.
Has anyone on the team been popped for PEDs? It's the origin story for Captain America. It's PEDs.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Wasn't Daytone Jones involved in the Charlie Slide? I'm going to look this up right now. Like, because you remember there was like a... Nope, wasn't Daytone Jones. It was like Mike Neal. Damn it. There has to be a Viking that was popped for PEDs at one point, right? They have the most arrests. Why wouldn't they have like people who want to actually play better too?
Because they're too busy having fun.
All right, so I guess we can't pick Captain America based off of a history of PED usage. That sucks, I guess.
I didn't know this yourteamcheats.com was a thing.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it started by a Patriots fan who was like, you're not better than us.
It's a very Patriots fan thing to do.
Yeah. Man.
Spencer Neely in 2014, Kevin and Pat Williams in 2011.
Yeah, but they're not like on the team.
On the roster now, yeah.
Oh, obviously Sam Bradford's Hawkeye.
Oh, yes.
Right. Marcus Sherrill's his Ant-Man. Like, he's short, but he can evidently grow in size because he covered Kelvin Benjamin, so he gets it.
Kyle Rudolph can be Iron Man?
Yeah, he's never missed a game.
No. Well, if not, I feel like Kyle Rudolph...
It would have been a really good ironic award to give to Matt Khalil, though.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on the Vikings has a very strong consecutive start streak, so we can't use the traditional definition of Iron Man.
All right, well, maybe...
Who's the billionaire playboy on the team?
Thor? No. Who is the billionaire playboy?
It's not Cordero. He's not on the team. He would have been a great Iron Man. He would have been a great Tony Stark. Cap's not on the team. Who's the most charismatic, do you think? Oh, wait. No, you know what? No, let's pick Emerson, because they both have hearts of gold. Or magnet arc reactors.
One of the two.
Right. Yeah, Everson Griffin, sure. You're Iron Man now. Plus, I don't think he's missed that many games. Thor. That one seems like that's got a particular significance for the Vikings. You have to be pretty careful. But I'm not. I'm going to give it to Brian Robinson.
Adrian Peterson could have been Luke Cage, and not just because they kind of look alike.
What, because, like, he's bulletproof? Because it's definitely not Linval Joseph.
That is accurate.
But yeah, no, Luke, that would have made a lot of sense because, you can...
Is there a good candidate for a Daredevil?
When Derek Coleman was on the team, he was deaf, so that would have been cool. I don't know if there isn't a good candidate for a Daredevil. I don't know if anyone's currently seeking their law degree. Otherwise, that could have been Alan Page way back.
Or Matt Burke.
Right. Is someone... I feel like there's someone, but I don't know it now, so now we don't have a Daredevil. I think we did enough.
I think that's pretty good. That's a tough puzzle to put together.
Wait, no, we do have to figure out Spider-Man.
Ooh. Wait, which Spider-Man? Like the Amazing Spider-Man or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or comic book Spider-Man? Or does it matter?
Let's go with comic book Spider-Man. Blair Walt? No, he's not on the team. Wow. That got weird. Huh.
Let's see.
Eric Kendricks, maybe? Studious, kind of undersized, surprisingly strong for his size. I don't know.
Yeah, it works for me.
Sure, close enough.
All right. Boy, the rest of these I feel like we can save for next time, which I think we shall do.
All right.
Given that voice is failing me, unless I see another. Nope, nothing else. When is the next podcast coming from Don't Bro Me Smith? Here it is. Please enjoy. So, what are you going to be working on over the next week? Or two, perhaps?
I'm mostly the training camp guide.
An ongoing process.
Yeah.
So that represents like how many hours of work for you generally? Compiling all the data and sorting it.
Many? I have no idea. A ton of work.
The majority of your waking hours?
Yeah.
Well, apropos of nothing, I just happened to see a phenomenal Jose Canseco tweet. Mermen do not exist because mermaids are a hermaphroditic species.
Well, it's a surprisingly coherent and put together tweet. It's got a theory of the world, so, it fits. So I'll give it to you.
We'll end today with a strong take from Jose Canseco. And we will return next time with more, off-season updates as they happen. Look forward to seeing the next phase of this Michael Floyd scandal / saga. I wonder what's going to happen to him next. And whenever we figure that out, we'll be back with the next episode of Norse Code. And until then, what are we? Just a little below average?
Yeah, we're a little below average.
We're definitely a little below average. We'll see you next time.
Norse Code is the largest and only division of Norse Code LLC. You can find Norse Code on the Daily Norseman, SB Nation's Vikings blog, at dailynorseman.com. You can also find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music Podcasts, or wherever else fine podcasts are aggregated. Our Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human is Arif Hassan, who can be found on Twitter at Arif Hassan NFL. Our intrepid producer and occasional co-host James Pogachnik can be found on Twitter at Big Mono or curating the official Norse Code Twitter feed at NorseCodeDN. I'm your host with a firm grasp of the obvious, Dusty O'Connell, and my name is my handle on Twitter. If you'd like to donate a few bucks to the show, your one-time donation can be made at paypal.me/NorseCode, or a recurring monthly contribution can be made by visiting patreon.com/NorseCode. Please visit our website, NorseCodePodcast.com, where you'll find links to our Facebook and YouTube pages, along with the episode archive and some other good stuff. And any questions or comments that won't fit in a tweet can be emailed to NorseCodePodcast@gmail.com. And on behalf of the entire Norse Code staff, thank you so much for listening.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.